The year was 2095. Earth had changed a lot. Aliens now lived among humans. They studied in human schools, worked human jobs, and even shared human apartments. Jay Miller was a normal guy, 22 years old, studying software engineering. He liked quiet mornings, strong coffee, and living alone. But that all changed one strange Tuesday afternoon. Jay was waiting for his new roommate to arrive. His old roommate had graduated and moved out. The university sent him a message. New roommate arriving today. Name, Nirax. Species, Nvaran. Jay thought it was a joke. He had never shared a room with an alien before. At 2:16 p.m., the doorbell rang. Jay opened the door and froze. There stood a tall, glowing figure. Nirax was at least 7 feet tall, with smooth gray-blue skin. His eyes were large and purple, with no pupils. He wore a tight black suit and had no hair. Floating beside him was a metallic cube. Buzzing softly. "Greetings," Nirax said, his voice robotic but friendly. "I am Nirax of Nvaran, your assigned co-dweller." Jay blinked, unsure what to say. Hi. "I guess, come in." Nirax walked in slowly, scanning every object in the room. The posters, the books, the coffee machine. Everything seemed new to him. Then Nirax turned to Jay and said, "I am ready to begin the mating ritual." Jay choked on his drink. "Wait, what?" Nirax tilted his head. "I have researched Earth behavior. Humans bond with roommates through emotional and physical rituals. I have selected you as my test partner." Jay's brain tried to catch up. "You mean like ... dating?" No, that's not how this works." Nirax looked genuinely confused. "But data suggests roommates often form romantic connections in 43% of Earth media." Jay sighed. "That's just in movies, man, not real life." Nirax looked disappointed for a second. Then he nodded. "I will observe and learn. Please provide access to your personal love history." Jay's face turned red. "Dude, I'm not giving you that. It's private." Nirax pulled out his cube. It projected holograms of Earth romance movies, dating shows, even fan fiction. Jay stared at the floating screen, shocked. "You've been studying this stuff?" "For 6 months," Nirax replied. "I must understand human emotion to prepare my species for Earth interaction." Jay sat down on the couch, rubbing his forehead. "Okay, let's make something clear. You can stay here, but no weird rituals. No experiments, and please stop calling it mating." Nirax nodded. "Agreed. Shall we begin hand-holding instead?" Jay laughed nervously. "Maybe just start with doing the dishes." As they began settling in, something outside the window moved. A tiny red dot blinked at a nearby rooftop. Unseen by either of them, a hidden drone zoomed in, recording every second. Somebody was watching them. Nirax opened his suitcase, which unfolded into a mini-lab. Vials, wires, sensors, all organized neatly. Jay stared at the setup. "What is all this stuff?" "Tools for emotional research," Nirax answered. "I will collect data on your responses, behaviors, and reactions to love stimuli." Jay groaned. "This is going to be the weirdest semester of my life." Later that night, Jay went to brush his teeth. He found Nirax standing in the dark kitchen, staring at a candle. "What are you doing?" Jay asked. Nirax replied, "This object produces warmth, light, and scent. In Nvaran culture, this means it is alive." Jay chuckled. "It's just wax and fire, not alive." Nirax looked at the flame. "Then why does it make me feel something?" Jay didn't know how to answer. For a moment, the room was silent. Only the candle flickered, casting dancing shadows across Nirax's glowing skin. Jay started to wonder. Maybe this wasn't just a science project. Maybe Nirax really wanted to feel like a human, and maybe, just maybe, the strange alien wasn't here to study love. Maybe he was here to find it, outside. The red drone hovered for a moment longer, then disappeared into the night. Tomorrow would not be normal. Jay just didn't know it yet. Jay woke up to the sound of loud moaning. Not just any moaning, the kind you hear in cheesy soap operas. From the 90s, he rushed into the living room, half asleep, and stopped in shock. Nirax was sitting on the floor, surrounded by roses, tissues, and glowing screens. Each screen showed a different romance movie: Titanic, Twilight, Kissing Booth, and something in Spanish called Amor del Infierno, Nirax. Eyes were wide, his expression unusually emotional. One of his fingers was dripping with melted chocolate. Jay blinked. "Dude, what is going on?" Nirax turned slowly, looking deeply serious. "I am immersing myself in romantic energy," Jay raised an eyebrow. "By crying and eating chocolate?" Nirax nodded. "This is what your media recommends. I must experience heartbreak, longing, and delayed kisses." Jay sighed and grabbed the remote. He paused the screen just before a dramatic proposal scene. "You've been watching love movies all night?" Nirax looked offended. "I also read 34 human dating blogs, 12 fan fictions, and completed a quiz titled, 'Which romantic trope are you?' I am apparently enemies to lovers, whatever that means." Jay couldn't help but laugh. "You're going way too deep into this, man." Nirax stood up, wiping his chocolate-covered hand on a napkin. "I have decided on my next step." Jay braced himself. "Which is?" "A field test," Nirax said with pride. "I will now attempt to attract a human partner." Jay nearly dropped his coffee mug. "What?" No, you're not dating someone from campus." Nirax blinked. "I already submitted my profile to 3 Earth mating applications. I am scheduled for a lunch meeting in precisely 2 hours." Jay's mouth hung open. You're going on a date?" Nirax smiled, or at least tried to. His face didn't quite know how to do it yet. "Yes, I have chosen the identity name Z, and my interest list includes candle watching, skin warmth, and emotional bonding through shared desserts." Jay facepalmed. "This is gonna be a disaster." At that moment, Jay's phone beeped. Unknown message. "Be careful, they're watching both of you." He looked around the room. Nirax was now rehearsing compliments in front of a mirror. "You are soft and oddly symmetrical. Your eyebrow placement pleases me." Jay shook his head, laughing but also worried. Something wasn't right. That message wasn't from any contact he knew. "Nirax," Jay said carefully, "have you noticed anything strange lately? Like people watching us?" Nirax paused, his face going blank for a second. Then he spoke. "I detected multiple surveillance signals yesterday, but assumed they were normal Earth monitoring systems." Jay's heart skipped. "We don't have surveillance in dorms." "Man," there was a long silence. Nirax looked toward the ceiling, where a small red light blinked once, then disappeared. Jay followed his gaze. "Okay, that's not normal." Nirax turned back to Jay. "Perhaps my research is drawing attention from your government, or yours," Jay replied, voice low. They both stared at each other, uncertain. The doorbell rang. Nirax smiled again. "My date has arrived." Jay muttered under his breath. "This can't end well." Jay didn't sleep that night, not because of the glowing alien snoring on the top bunk, not even because Nirax had come back from his date with a bouquet of noodles, saying, "I believe I was ghosted." Jay couldn't sleep because of the message. "Be careful, they're watching both of you." It kept flashing in his mind like a warning light. Who sent it? Why now? At 3:17 a.m., Jay opened his laptop and searched for one thing: alien-human relationship laws. He found forums, articles, even conspiracy sites. One thread stood out, posted just a week ago. Navaran contact breaches Earth Protocol 11C. Jay clicked. The screen filled with a grainy photo, a tall, glowing figure, sitting in what looked like his dorm room. The caption read, "Unauthorized emotional experiment detected. Immediate termination recommended." Jay's heart dropped. They were talking about Nirax. Suddenly, Nirax's voice echoed behind him. "You should not be reading that." Jay jumped. Nirax stood silently in the dark, his eyes dimmer than usual. He looked different. "You knew?" Jay asked, his voice low. Nirax nodded. "My mission was approved, but only under strict limits. Emotional bonding was not allowed, only observation." Jay closed the laptop. So why are you pretending to date people and study love? Nirax sat on the floor, legs crossed. Because I want to feel it, he said quietly. No data, no hologram, no simulation. Shows what it's truly like. Jay stared at him. You're risking deportation for feelings? Nirax looked up. No. I am risking it for understanding my kind. We are forgetting how to connect. Everything is logic, purpose, survival, but no emotion. Jay sighed. This is bigger than school, isn't it? Before Nirax could answer, the power shut off. Every light in the room went dark. The cube floated silently, then blinked red. Nirax stood up quickly. They found us. Jay's phone buzzed again. Another message. Leave the building, now. A sharp knock hit the door. 3 times, heavy and slow. Knock, knock. Nirax held out his hand. Jay, you need to trust me now. Jay hesitated. Are we running? No, Nirax said, eyes glowing again. We're going to negotiate. The door burst open, but there was no SWAT team, no military, just 2 tall figures in silver suits with no visible faces. They floated slightly above the ground, humming like machines. One of them spoke in a deep, metallic voice. Subject Nirax of Nivaran, you have violated Protocol 11C. Nirax raised his hands calmly. I request a diplomatic hearing, Jay whispered. Are these guys from your planet? Nirax replied, no, they're from Earth's Interspecies Regulation Council, ISAR for short. The other agent looked at Jay. You human are now a Class C witness in an intergalactic breach case. Jay blinked. Wait, I didn't even sign up for this. Too late, the agent replied. Nirax stepped forward. I am not returning to Nivaran until I complete my experiment. You were not authorized to emotionally engage, said the agent. You've contaminated the subject. Jay's eyes widened. Contaminated? I'm not a test tube. The room fell silent, tension thick like fog. Then, the first agent spoke again. There is one option. Initiate trial protocol. Let the experiment continue. If emotional bonding results in measurable mutual growth, the breach will be forgiven. Nirax nodded immediately. Jay looked back and forth between them. Wait, what's this trial thing? What do I have to do? Nirax turned to him and said, we keep going. We live, we learn, we fake a relationship. Deeper than before, Jay's eyes widened. Like, pretend to fall in love? Nirax didn't blink. Exactly. Jay woke up to find post-it notes stuck to his face. One said, flirty smile practice -6/10. Another said, try compliment. Your hair smells like earth flowers. He groaned, sat up, and saw Nirax at the dining table wearing a button-up shirt, 3 ties and a rose taped to his chest. Today is lesson 1, Nirax announced proudly. Mating simulation 101. Jay rubbed his eyes. We're seriously doing this? Nirax nodded. To satisfy the Interspecies Council, we must show signs of emotional bonding. I have prepared a detailed syllabus, including fake arguments, emotional vulnerability, and food sharing. Jay sighed. Fine, but no kissing. Nirax opened a notebook titled Earth Romance Operations Manual. Chapter 1, The First Date. Jay looked around. In our own apartment? Nirax stood up straight. This environment has been optimized. I dimmed the lights, boiled water for pasta, and played mood-enhancing human audio. Jay paused. You mean ... romantic music? Just then, a speaker started blasting Careless Whisper by George Michael. Nirax tilted his head. Is the saxophone part meant to activate emotions? Jay chuckled. It activates something, I guess. They sat across from each other at the kitchen table, now awkwardly set with candles. Mismatched plates and glowing alien cutlery. Jay stared at the spaghetti. Did you cook this? Nirax nodded. I watched 10 hours of cooking tutorials, however. I replaced oregano with Zarnak spice from my planet. It may cause brief hallucinations. Jay froze with his fork halfway up. I'm sorry, what? Before he could argue, Nirax leaned in. Jay, how was your day emotionally? Please describe in color and temperature. Jay blinked. Blue and medium warm? Nirax clapped slowly. Excellent, vulnerability achieved. Just then, the cube on the counter lit up. A new message from the Interspecies Council. Trial progress, 3%. Emotional bond, weak but active, suspicion. Hi Jay. Groaned. They're judging our emotions like it's a science fair. Nirax looked concerned. Do you wish to simulate jealousy next? I can flirt with the neighbor. Jay nearly choked. No. You're not flirting with anyone, especially Mrs. Tompkins. She's 83. Nirax wrote something in his notebook. Human subject shows signs of protective instinct. Jay frowned. I'm not being protective. I'm being normal, Nirax smiled slightly. Sometimes those are the same. A moment of silence passed. And for once, it wasn't awkward. Jay looked at Nirax, not the glowing skin, not the weird clothes, just his eyes. You're serious about this, aren't you? Nirax nodded. More than you know. Suddenly Jay's phone buzzed. Another anonymous message. They're not just watching. They're waiting for you to fail. Jay showed it to Nirax. Nirax's expression changed. I believe someone wants this experiment shut down permanently. Jay looked at the fake roses on the table, the silly playlist still looping, the alien in front of him trying to be human. He exhaled slowly. All right then, let's give them a show. Nirax looked confused. A show? Jay stood up and grabbed a pair of sunglasses. If we're faking a relationship, let's go public. Nirax raised a glowing eyebrow. You mean, perform mating simulation outside? Exactly, Jay said, smiling for real. We're going on a very fake, very public date. Nirax didn't come back that night. Jay waited, pacing the room, checking the time every 5 minutes. Their public fake date had been a disaster. Nirax had tried to feed a pigeon spaghetti, proposed to a hologram in front of a cafe, and accidentally set off a fountain by trying to initiate aquatic romance. People stared, cameras flashed. Someone had definitely posted it all online. Jay wasn't sure if he was mad, embarrassed, or worried, and that was the problem. He didn't know what he felt anymore. When the door finally opened at 3:42 a.m., Nirax walked in, not glowing like usual, not smiling either. His shoulders, or what passed for shoulders, were slumped. Jay stood up. Where the hell were you? Nirax didn't answer. He walked past Jay, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall. Jay tried again, softer. You okay? Nirax spoke quietly. I failed the test. Jay frowned. What test? Nirax pointed at the cube, which had been silent. For hours, it recorded everything. The council will see it was chaos. No emotional synchronization, no meaningful bonding. Jay sat down across from him. Dude, what did you expect? That pretending to be in love would be easy? Nirax looked up. I expected patterns, logic, results, but emotions do not follow rules. Jay nodded slowly. Welcome to the human condition. Nirax tilted his head. I do not understand. You live with constant confusion, unpredictable feelings and pain. Why do you keep going? Jay paused. That question hit harder than he expected. He thought about his own life, the failed friendships, the parents who never called, the loneliness, the nights pretending everything was fine. You keep going, he said slowly, because sometimes it's worth it. Nirax stared. What is it? Jay looked at him, eyes tired. The connection. Even if it's messy, even if it hurts, sometimes one real moment with someone makes all the pain worth it. Silence fell over the room, heavy and honest. Nirax blinked slowly. Then I have never been alive. Jay looked at him. What do you mean? I have existed, Nirax said. I have functioned, learned, reported, but I have never truly felt what it means to be alive. Not like you just described. Jay didn't know what to say to that. For the first time, Nirax didn't sound like a scientist, a machine, or a curious alien. He sounded human. Just then, The cube blinked. New alert. Emotional activity detected to 64% authentic. Trust level rising. Jay laughed. Looks like your robot judges approve. Nirax didn't laugh. His eyes were on Jay. Serious now. I do not care what the council thinks anymore. I only care what you feel. Jay looked away, suddenly nervous. This was supposed to be fake, remember? Then why does it feel real? Nirax asked, voice almost a whisper. Before Jay could answer, a loud crash came from the hallway. The lights flickered. The door lock beeped. Jay stood up fast, heart racing. Nirax's body glowed again, not calm this time, but defensive. They found us again, he said. Who? Jay asked. Nirax looked at the door, his voice sharper than ever before. Not the council. Someone else. And they don't want peace. Asterisk. The sky over the city turned green. Not the soft green of nature. This was cold, humming, artificial. A massive triangular shape hovered above the skyline, hidden behind clouds. The world didn't see it yet, but Nirax did. He stood by the window, silent, glowing dimly. Jay came out of the bathroom brushing his teeth. What's wrong? Nirax didn't speak, just pointed. Jay looked out the window, saw the flickering green sky. What the hell is that? Nirax replied without turning. The council is here. Jay almost dropped his toothbrush. They're here? Like, on Earth? Nirax nodded. They do not trust our data. They want to see it with their own eyes. Before Jay could reply, the cube on the desk blinked red. It projected a beam of light upward, then formed a full 3D hologram, tall, shadowy, and wrapped in golden armor. The voice that followed was cold and commanding. Subject Nirax of Nevarin, you have exceeded your boundaries. Jay took a step back. He didn't like the tone. He didn't like the way the hologram stared directly at him, even though it wasn't real. Nirax remained calm. I followed the framework. I collected the data. I engaged the human. The hologram replied. You bonded with the subject. You crossed into emotional territory. That is not permitted. Jay raised his hand. Hey, excuse me. I'm standing right here, and I'm not just a subject, okay? The hologram turned its full attention to Jay. Then explain this, human. Why did you allow the simulation to continue? Jay shrugged. I don't know. Maybe because I didn't want him to get erased. The room went quiet. Nirax looked at him, surprised. The council being was not impressed. We cannot allow this project to continue unchecked. You, human, are now part of a breach-level event. Nirax stepped forward, glowing brighter. Do not punish him, if someone must be removed. Let it be me. Jay frowned. What are you doing? But before Nirax could answer, the hologram spoke again. There is one path left, the trial of true intent. Jay raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a terrible game show. Nirax didn't laugh. It's a mind bond test, a deep psychic link between two beings. It reveals true emotions, but also memories, trauma, fear. Jay looked nervous. Like, you'll see my thoughts? Nirax nodded. And you'll see mine, the hologram continued. If the bond shows authentic emotional growth, not just attraction, but understanding, then the experiment may proceed. Jay looked down at the floor. His thoughts were messy. What would Nirax see? The loneliness? The nights crying alone? The feeling of never being good enough? And what would he see from Nirax's mind? Jay took a breath. Okay, we'll do it. Nirax turned slowly. Are you sure? No. Jay said honestly. But I trust you. The hologram disappeared. The cube beeped twice. Nirax walked to the center of the room and placed his hand on the cube. Place your hand here, he said. Jay did. The room grew silent. The lights dimmed. Their eyes locked. And in an instant, they were no longer standing in their apartment. They were somewhere else. A white void, endless and silent. Jay looked around. Where are we? Nirax's voice echoed beside him, inside each other's memories. Suddenly Jay saw a vision, himself at 9 years old, hiding in a closet while his parents screamed in the next room. He gasped. Nirax looked at it too, and didn't turn Away, then it shifted. Now Jay saw a small blue child on a metal floor. Nirax. Alone. Being trained to feel nothing. No comfort, no hugs, only rules, only results. Jay whispered, "They made you like this." Nirax nodded. "And your world left you behind." They stood in silence, surrounded by pain. But then something changed. The memories began to twist, showing moments of laughter, small smiles, the pasta dinner, the silly post-it notes, the awkward but honest conversations. Emotion wrapped around them like warm light. The void trembled. And the cube's voice echoed in the distance. Connection established, emotional bond, genuine, trust, mutually confirmed. They opened their eyes, back in the room. Nirax looked at Jay. Jay looked back. Something was different now, not just between them, but inside them. They understood each other, fully, completely, and painfully. Jay stood at the edge of the rooftop, wind tugging at his hoodie. The city below looked calm, quiet, but the sky above was still glowing faint green. The council hadn't left yet. Nirax stood beside him, silent, not glowing for once. He looked almost human in the moonlight. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say that hadn't already been felt. The bond had changed everything. Jay had seen Nirax's loneliness, his childhood inside cold metal walls. Nirax had seen Jay's fear of being left, of never being good enough, of always being temporary. But something strange had happened inside that bond. The pain didn't push them apart. It pulled them closer. Then the sky opened. A thin beam of light shot down from the clouds. A voice, calm but commanding, echoed across the rooftop. "Subjects J. Miller and Nirax of Navaran, you're emotional. Bond has been confirmed, but one final trial remains." Jay rolled his eyes. "There's always one more test." Nirax nodded. "This is the last. It is called the unchosen choice." Jay raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't make any sense." Nirax explained. "The council wants proof that the bond is not based on survival, curiosity, or pressure. They want us to choose to let go with no promise of reunion." Jay blinked. "They want us to break up?" Nirax nodded. "Yes, by choice, without force. If we do, and the bond remains strong after separation, they will accept it as real." Jay looked at the sky. "So we walk away from each other, to prove we never wanted to." Nirax stepped forward into the beam of light. His voice was steady, but something cracked beneath it. "I accept the trial." Jay took a step forward too, but stopped. His heart was racing. This wasn't a simulation anymore. It wasn't a test. It was goodbye, and it would be real. "I'm not good at letting go," Jay said quietly. Nirax looked at him, eyes softer than ever before. "Neither am I." A new voice entered the beam, but it wasn't the council. It was her, the voice from the unknown messages, the one who had warned Jay before. "Don't do it," she said. "They're testing more than your emotions. They want obedience, not love." Jay turned sharply. "Who are you?" A shimmer appeared beside the rooftop's antenna. A woman stepped into view, part human, part machine, glowing wires down her arms. "I was part of the original Earth and Varan experiment," she said. "I passed the bond test. And they still wiped him." Nirax froze. "That's not possible." She nodded. "They don't care about connection. They fear it." Jay's hands clenched. "So this whole trial, it's fake?" The woman stepped closer. "No, the emotions are real. But if they scare the council, they shut it down. You two aren't proving something to them. You're threatening them." Nirax looked at Jay, his voice low. "What do we do?" Jay exhaled slowly, then smiled. "We do the most human thing possible." Nirax tilted his head. "What is that?" "We choose each other anyway," Jay said, stepping into the beam. "Even if it means breaking every rule." The woman smiled faintly. "That's how we survive, not by obeying, but by connecting." Above, alarms began to echo. The sky turned red. The council's voice roared. "You have failed to comply. Your bond is unauthorized." Termination begins now. Nirax grabbed Jay's hand. The cube on the floor exploded. With light, but this time, it wasn't reporting data. It was protecting them. Nirax looked at Jay. I modified the cube. If they try to erase us, they'll have to feel us first. Jay laughed. You're such a nerd. Light wrapped around them. Memories, feelings, pain, joy, regret, all pouring outward like a storm, and in the center of it, one emotion burned. Brighter than anything else. Connection, not perfect, not clean, but real. Real enough to rewrite the rules. Real enough to make even the council hesitate. Then, silence. The beam vanished. The sky returned to blue. The triangle ship above disappeared. Like a dream, Jay and Nirax stood there, hand in hand, not test subject and observer, just two souls who didn't let go.